Welcome back to more ReZero. We are currently on the fourth loop of the fourth arc. Subaru is in the dream world for the second tea party, and we are ready to meet the Witch of Gluttony and a few other witches. Echidna disappears, and a child sits in her place. Ah, we meet at last. You're also a witch, right? Echidna told you, didn't she? They all have different nicknames for everybody, and I'll try to include them all. She uses Dona in the light novel. I don't know, I feel like Kidna fits better. Also, I stopped doing slightly different voices for everybody a little while back because I felt like it really wasn't adding anything. But I am going to try to keep their speech patterns because it's fun. But I'm probably not going to be good at that either, so don't expect too much. And you're, let's see, Boru, right? Are you a bad guy, Boru? I've been wondering that this whole time. She holds out her hand, and Subaru reaches out to shake it. Sin can only be repaid with pain. In the light novel, she says, I take this in compensation for your sins. I kind of feel like that phrasing is better. But it really doesn't change anything either way. Oh, if you don't feel any pain, you must not be a bad guy. That's great. Subaru looks down and sees that his arm is no longer attached. My arm! Damn you, give it back! Sin will become a wedge that allows no escape. Thou shalt not be among the condemned in the light novel. Yeah, I'll give it to the anime on that one. His legs snap, causing him to fall. As he hits the ground, his entire body breaks apart. So you see yourself as a sinner, even though you're not a bad guy. You have such a good heart, Boru. Well, that's all I came here for. She disappears as another person drops out of the sky and crashes into the ground. My fist will restore the world. My anger will cleanse the world. My rage, the fury of my fist, shall be my answer. She proceeds to punch every piece of Subaru, and suddenly he's back together. Why are you crying? Yeah, that's not the first thing that he notices in the novels. I'll let you take a guess on what two things he notices first. I'm not crying, I'm just angry. That's Typhoon's fault for hurting you like that. I hate this world for making her do that. The world shakes as she stomps her feet. Thanks for saving me. And you are... I'm the Witch of Wrath, Minerva. The name's not worth giving. But you just did. Listen up. If you've learned your lesson, don't do anything careless. Next time, I'll just heal everyone. Don't make it sound like a threat. She disappears, and an Iron Maiden takes her place. It opens up, revealing a girl fully restrained and blindfolded. In the light novel, Echidna appears instead. She explains what happens and gives a warning before switching again. And speaking of, let me go ahead and repeat that warning just in case you forgot. No matter what you do, don't release Daphne's restraints. You're also forbidden from touching her. You should also avoid eye contact, too, if possible. The anime version is definitely better. It really doesn't make sense for her to wait this long before giving the warning. Pride and Wrath showing up actually happened earlier in the web novel, like during the first tea party. I didn't really bring it up then, or I didn't give a whole lot of details then, because I didn't want to spoil the fun here. But I will go back over the details of what happened then, just to be more clear on that. So in the web novel, Subaru meets Echidna for the first time, and then she does the silhouette introduction of all the witches. Subaru freaks out, and Echidna decides that the best thing to do is to start throwing other witches at him. Like, her idea is that she will look more normal compared to the other witches, which does end up happening later, but this is within the first 10 minutes of him meeting her, so it still feels like a very terrible plan. Typhon shows up and breaks his arm and legs, and as he's falling to the ground, he's caught by Segment, the Witch of Sloth. She then transforms into Minerva and she heals Subaru. Then Minerva transforms back into Echidna, and the first tea party continues. Most of it is similar enough to the other two versions that it's really not that big a deal. It's just a little out of order. The one quote that I do want to point out is from Segment. Having face-to-face meetings with three witches in turn, That's something you'd only get with that moron Flugel or Reed. Not that important right now, but it may end up being important later. So let's continue on with the story. What would you like to ask of Daphne Subarun? I'm here because Kit asked me to come, but I don't want to stay awake any longer than I have to be. So please don't drag this out with... It's Dona Dona in the light novel. And they really make it seem like it's supposed to be pronounced Echidna. And that's not really how it's said or spelled anywhere. Wait, I guess technically it is spelled Echidna in Japanese, but everywhere that it's said in English and written in English and even said in Japanese is Echidna with the O being silent. So I don't know. My Japanese is not super great, so maybe I'm not the best person to speak on that. But I'm just gonna stick with Echidna, and all of the nicknames off of nicknames for her are gonna be more based off of that pronunciation rather than with the O. Also, the creature that Daphne is in is called the centipede coffin. It feeds off of her sweat and pee. That is in the light novel. I'm not making that up. In the web novel, it is just feeding off of her mana. Oh, this might be toxic to me. My body is throbbing. You give off a scent that I really love. It's making me want to eat you. This happens in every version, but in the web novel, Subaru starts throwing cookies at her after she makes that comment. Very important detail, I assure you. Then let's make this quick. I want to talk about the 3 great witch beasts that you made. Oh? The whale, the bunny, and the snake? Why in the world did you make those things? The white whale is very big, isn't it? It would sate so many appetites if people were to eat it, don't you think? And the great rabbit can multiply itself indefinitely. With them around, no one would ever have to go hungry. Those beasts are taking more lives away than they're feeding. Don't you think it's a bit selfish to try to eat another without considering the possibility of being eaten yourself? Don't you think everyone takes gluttony too lightly? The appetite is the most important of all the desires to keep people alive. You'll understand too, if you're starved to your limit. You'll see what sort of world my bunny and I live in. So in the web novel, she actually takes off her blindfold. Well, she lifts it up a little bit, I guess, and her left eye looks at Subaru, which causes him to feel her level of hunger. He falls over in pain and starts to eat his own hand, and before he even realizes what's going on. And even after he realizes what's going on, he can't stop himself. Minerva actually has to come back in to save him from himself, basically. And it would have been worse, apparently, if she had looked with her right eye or if he had touched her. So that warning from Echidna earlier was not a joke. Daphne then switches back in after he's okay, and then the conversation continues. If I told you I wanted to get rid of the great rabbit, would you give me any tips? The great rabbit relies on mana to find its prey. You really don't mind? If you must eat to stay alive, it wouldn't make sense to deny that we must kill to survive. It's naturally drawn to places that have a lot of mana, so you could use a powerful magic user as a lure, then wipe them all out at once when they're all gathered together. There may be many of them, but they all share one consciousness. They don't have the wisdom to avoid being killed or anything. Are you finished with me now? Yeah, thanks. Also, I will destroy the great rabbit. I already killed the white whale after all. You better not come crying to me, mother. If you think a mere human is capable of that, then go ahead and try it. She disappears, and Subaru is once again back at the table with Echidna. Ignoring Typhon and Minerva for now, Daphne gave some pretty good advice here. The rabbit is attracted to mana, so let's say if a very powerful magic user decided to cast a blizzard spell, then it would use up a lot of mana and attract the rabbit. Definitely not a hint. The advice in the web novel is not as useful. She says that some of the witches could defeat it, which doesn't really help if they can't leave the dream world. And she says that he could just get a whole bunch of people to eat the rabbits faster than they can multiply, which is also really fucking stupid. In the novels, she refers to the witch beast as children. Like she uses the phrase that child whenever she's talking about the whale or the rabbit. And even the coffin that she's in, too, every now and then. So I think Subaru's comment about calling her mother makes more sense in the novels. I was a bit disconcerted when Typhon jumped in the moment I tried to give my body to Daphne. The Witch of Pride. She's very much a child, as you saw. She was so eager to meet you that she jumped right out. So, did Daphne give you any useful information? Yeah, sort of. First of all, I learned that you're the most normal of the witches. He's met like, what, four? I think technically five if we include Envy. So maybe it's a little too soon for him to make that judgment. There's still a few more witches out there. In the light novel, Subaru says that he would be okay talking to Typhon again. Not like right now or anything, just in general. And in the web novel, it's Daphne. Echidna points out that it's a little weird to be cool with someone who tried to kill you. And it's the same thing we see with Subaru with pretty much everybody. And now even Echidna is pointing it out. In the web novel, we learned that Minerva was the first one to die, the first one of the witches. And that's because she can't help herself from jumping out and trying to help as soon as she sees someone who is hurt. We don't really get any more details past that, though. Subaru suddenly feels dizzy. What was. Looks like it's nearly time for you to wake up. Perhaps something happened outside to speed your awakening. You mean Amelia? No, wait. Weren't you passing yourself off as the examiner for the trial? So why are you here? Because the result is already in sight. I'm saying I have no interest in the result of her challenge. Even after 3 days of trial and error, I can't hold out any hope that she'll break out of her shell. Or perhaps you could do it. Again, she sees Subaru's memories or she's read the book. I don't know, either way, she knows that Amelia is not going to pass, so she's lost interest. And this doesn't come up in the web novel. I hate that it feels like I'm letting you provoke me, but I won't let you make Amelia cry anymore. Oh no, I'm not the one making her cry. I'll go through your sadistic trial. That was my plan to begin with. I hardly think it's necessary to call it sadistic. Echidna, how can I come here again? I know I'm being selfish, but I want to be able to seek your wisdom again. And I know about your return by death power. It does feel nice to be depended on, but I think that would be rather difficult. The conditions to attend the witches' tea party grow stricter each time, and you've already been invited twice. I want to explain this a little bit more. So, when Subaru woke up for this loop, he was genuinely confused on what the fuck just happened. While he was slamming his head against the ground, he was just thinking why repeatedly. He wanted an explanation so that he could get a grip, and that need for an explanation is what got him the qualification for the Tea Party. So if he wants to go back, he's going to have to want it more than what he did in that moment, which means he'll probably need an even worse experience in order to pull out that level of emotion again, or even more emotion, I guess I should say. And Subaru wants to avoid that, which is very understandable. Of course, if you do undergo the trial, as you hope to, that wouldn't be the only way. Whoa, crap. I'm really starting to feel faint. Echidna, one more thing before I go. The payment to make sure I don't forget what happened here. Oh, the payment. Of course, I wouldn't want you to forget about this. At first, I thought that skipping this payment would be good for Subaru, but just like he said, I think that him remembering everything kind of relies on that payment, so can't skip it. And in the web novel, she is the one to bring it up, not Subaru. In that case, I'll take this. Really? But it's just a handkerchief. No need to worry. This world exists within my mind. It won't be gone once you get back outside. How does it work as a payment, then? The one who gave you this did so out of heartfelt concern for you. It wouldn't do to ridicule that sentiment. This payment is recognition of that person's existence, and perhaps a bit of meddling as well. So in the web novel, she actually takes the handkerchief instead of just touching it. And it kind of feels like that's a little more fitting, especially considering the end result's the same anyway. She says that it has magic in it, Most likely, Petra accidentally put some magic into the Puck image that she embroidered onto it. And Akinda's meddling is going to be her messing with the magic that is in the handkerchief in real life. But we'll talk more about that later. Subaru wakes up on the floor. This time he still remembers Echidna and the tea party, but Amelia isn't there. He runs outside to find the sanctuary covered in shadows, like water rising up and filling the entire sanctuary. No one else is around. And I want to be clear here, it is shadows, but it behaves a lot like water. Like there is weight to it, like if a wave hit you, like if you were in the ocean and a wave hit you, it would, the shadows here have that same feeling. And also things sink into it like if you had just thrown something into a large body of water. So Envy is a water bender, but with shadows. In the novels, he actually steps into the shadow, which is weird in my opinion. It makes a little more sense in the web novel because of reasons that will be discussed here in a minute. But it kind of feels like this is something that was in the web novel and then carried over to the light novel, even though other changes made it not really make that much sense there. A woman rises up, cloaked in the shadows. Someone Subaru has experienced before, but this is the first time actually seeing her. The Witch of Envy. I love you. As she slowly gets closer, the memories of his heart being tortured flood Subaru's mind. I love you. Envy wraps her arms around him, and the shadows begin to cover him. Quit screwing around. Garfield drops in with a powerful punch that separates them, saving Subaru. We're gonna jump. He grabs Subaru and they jump from treetop to treetop while avoiding shadows raining down. Once they get out of range, they stop on top of a house. What, you got a problem? No, I just wasn't expecting you to save me. Can't you see what's going on? What's important right now is finding a way to bite off that thing's head. That bitch isn't even trying to follow us. She's gonna leave the barrier? The mansion. In the anime, that conclusion seems like a leap, but it makes more sense in the light novel. Subaru thinks that Envy is trying to get rid of anything or anyone that might steal Subaru's affection. Everyone at Sanctuary is already gone, so all that's left are the people at the mansion and the village. So her heading that direction has some basis to it. Also, this isn't in the web novel. Her trying to leave Sanctuary isn't added in into the light novel. The anime and the light novel show Roswaal just chilling in his bed as the shadows slowly rise up. He then pulls out his gospel, which is the first time that it's showed up in either of these two versions, and he says, "Try not to make any mistakes next time, Subaru." I would guess this is just supposed to be the gospel reveal for the anime and the light novel. That's the reason why the web novel doesn't have it, because they revealed it earlier. Cut back over to Subaru and Garfield, and they are running through the forest trying to come up with a plan. Subaru is going to be the bait because that's just his permanent role at this point. And Garfield is going to go in for the kill. There's a little more to the plan in the light novel, and it's only in the light novel. Like, to the point that I think the other versions don't actually have this as a part of the plan. Sometimes I try to infer that maybe some things are actually in the other versions, but they're not stated. This is one of the things that I am not sure this was ever in any of the other versions. There is a chance that Envy is affected by the barrier, and they don't seem to think that it's going to like knock her out like it does Amelia or anything, but they are hoping that it will weaken her to some extent so that Garfield has a better chance of killing her. And this is, they actually go out of their way to make sure that they are close to the barrier whenever they encounter Envy. So this is the part that's not stated anywhere in any other version, so it kind of seems to me like this is only in the light novel, but I don't know. For some reason, the light novel acts like we don't know that Garfield can go past the barrier. And it says that Garfield isn't weakened by the barrier, even though he's right by it. But we already know that he can go past it. Wait, do we know this in the light novel? Oh, fuck, am I getting them mixed up? Okay, I looked it up. I'm kind of right. So, in the light novel, Subaru watched Garfield go past the barrier. So, he does know it, or he did see it, but he was also kind of freaking out about the fact that he was about to be crushed by a giant tiger. So, I guess I can let that slide. The light novel also didn't make as big of a deal about it as I am right now. It's like one sentence that points it out, and I'm blowing this way out of proportion. I'm moving on. We then learn that everyone has already been swallowed by the shadow. Garfield only made it because Ram hit him with wind magic to send him flying before he could get grabbed. And this might include Amelia. It's a little vague, and I'm gonna wait before I talk about that. I forgot to do this for the last loop. I'll go over that real quick. The third loop is when Garfield kidnaps Subaru, so I would consider that to be very antagonistic. He doesn't really hurt Subaru that much, all things considered, except in the web novel, but that was justified. Once Subaru escapes, Garfield still tries to just capture him, but then resorts to killing him, along with a bunch of other people. It seems to me like he'd rather not kill Subaru, but he will if he thinks that's the best thing to do. Which brings us to this loop. He doesn't like Subaru, but he does save him from envy. He wants Subaru to live, to the point that he doesn't even want to use him as bait. And in the light novel, we actually get told that he knows about Subaru's smell, which is probably true for every version, but it's not stated. So it's not like that has gone away. And I think this switch makes sense. Garfield has a strong protective desire. When we look at the last few loops, he's still trying to protect the village. He's not sure if Subaru is a threat or not. The more Subaru tries to do, the more he looks like a problem. So Garfield removes him, but doesn't hurt him too much. He only attacks when he starts to think that Subaru is an actual threat. Now he doesn't see Subaru as a threat because he's got bigger issues. It's important to note that Garfield did just watch everyone get consumed by the shadows. He failed to protect them. If Subaru dies too, then it's a complete defeat in Garfield's mind. While they are standing there, a whole army of Ryuzus join them. And we've seen a few different Ryuzus up until this point, but apparently there is a fuck ton of them. Or around 20 in this case. We'll put them under the mystery category here. Actually, let's just call it the clone group. Well, I mean, they're all clones, but this group is the less sentient group. They don't really have a consciousness. Garfield describes them as empty shells. So the plan is pretty simple. They're just going to try to overrun Envy with numbers. As Garfield says, Reed always fights head on. And I actually think this is a little bit important for later on, so I'm just going to throw that in here now so that I can reference back to it. And we don't have to wait very long for this plan to play out. Envy catches up to them. Garfield transforms, tries to attack, but he gets caught. The Ryuzus run in and explode, which causes her to drop Garfield. He tries to use the distraction to get in close, but he's stopped and killed without being able to do any damage. Envy, never losing her focus on Subaru, steadily moves closer to him. Compared to you, I'd have an easier time loving Echidna or any of the other witches. Envy doesn't take that statement very well. Subaru gets swallowed by the shadows, but he doesn't die. His mind is flooded with memories from the other people, like sharing the memories of everyone that has been swallowed before. A glow from the handkerchief pulls his consciousness away enough to keep his sanity. Did Echidna know this was going to happen? It turns rigid like a blade. Damn that witch. Subaru takes the newly formed weapon and stabs himself in the throat. As he bleeds out, Subaru pulls off the cloak from Envy. She stays silent with tears running down her face. Subaru reaches up to wipe the tears away. I swear I'm going to save you. The fifth death. We already knew that Envy was strong, so it's really not that surprising that no one can stand against her. And the Ryuzu's exploding will be explained later, kind of. Not enough to understand what's happening, that's all that matters. The whole shared memories things is definitely not something that you would pick up on very easily in the anime. And they don't explain it until later on. But I feel like it's much better explained now, like it is in the light novel. And some of those memories will be important for later. In the novels, the shadow cloak that she wears actually kind of blocks perception, kind of like Amelia's fox cloak, her white fox cloak. So up until the point that Subaru removes the cloak, he actually can't tell whether it's a masculine or feminine voice, what body type the person has. So it's even more of a surprise whenever he sees her face. The ending is slightly different in the web novel. In that version, the shadows don't combine consciousnesses. Yeah, that's how you say that. Which is the reason why I said that it was less weird for Subaru to step into the shadow for the web novel versus the light novel. So in the web novel, Subaru has to actually fight off Envy using the light dagger blade thing. In the process of trying to stab her in the face, the shadow veil goes away and he sees her face for the first time. And he very much thinks that it is Amelia. The other versions are a little more vague about it and just leave it at that last line that he says. But once he sees her face, he stops trying to attack her and kills himself instead. Not that it really matters because he was stopped from actually hitting her by the shadows. Like they grabbed him and pulled him back. So he really didn't have any other options anyway. There's a few different theories about what's going on with Envy at this point. Like whether she is there herself or whether she has taken possession of Amelia. And I do want to talk about that, but there is another scene that's going to happen here in a little bit that I want to include in on that discussion. So instead, I'm going to wait on all of that so that I can just include it all in one video. Okay, here's what I think happened with the whole light blade. Like I said earlier, Petra put magic into the handkerchief that she gave to Subaru. And then Amelia used that magic to form the light spell that turned it into a blade. Echidna is a master of every attribute, much like Roswaal is. So it's really not that surprising that she would know light magic. But I can't imagine that she would be able to just cast magic into the real world. It seems more likely to me that she would have to take mana that was already there and meddle a little bit. Her words, not mine. Now, ironically enough, we do later learn, well, so I guess slight spoiler, it's really not that big a deal though. We do learn that Petra's attribute is light or yang, depending on which version that you're using. So I guess there's a little bit of a question of how much of this magic was Petra versus Echidna. Because I would imagine Petra's not trained in magic, so she's not going to make a light blade out of this. She's not going to know how to cast that spell or have that be like a trap card kind of thing. But it would make sense that a little bit of like a charm or something like light magic was put into it, and Echidna just changed the shape. And that makes the most sense to me, but there is absolutely nothing about this that is confirmed in any version whatsoever. I just think it lines up that Petra probably had a bigger step or bigger hand in this process than what is shown. Okay, before we wrap up, I'm going to throw Envy on the problem list here. Regardless of how she got here, she still did. So it's something that Subaru is going to have to watch out for. And can you even see her in this image? The problem with the fucking shadows, I guess. Here, I'll just use this one instead since it's more clear. And with Subaru dying once again, I'm going to end the video here. So next time we'll see how Subaru uses the information that he got from the Tea Party. See ya!